Welcome back to the show.
Welcome back to the show.
And now, your hosts of the Card Subject to Change podcast, the For Frequency's Sake Tag Team Champions of the World, the Wizard CZ, and Never Wrong Nick Bull.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to another exciting edition of the Card Subject to Change podcast. The podcast by the fan, for the fan, of course. We are powered by Low Pies Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo, and protected by Jared Zook of Country Financial. Hello, one and all. This is Never Wrong Nick Bull. So happy that you're here at Card Subject to Change, episode 167. We've got a special one, but I got to bring in my co-host and my tag team partner here. We are the For Frequency's Sake Tag Team Champions. He is a co-champ, my co-host. The show doesn't run without him. He is the bass line and the drums beat of this band. He is the one. He is the only. He is the Wizard CZ. Wiz, how you doing, bud?
Man, I feel good. Speaking of those tag team champions, I have news for everybody. We will be defending those on the second Tuesday of next week. Tuesday.
It's a contractual thing. If you don't like it, talk to the powers that be. But that's besides the point. We're joining you at a special time here live this morning because our talented guest, let me say, is in demand, and he has shows to hit, and we are so lucky enough to get him on the show, gracious enough that he is sharing his time with us. This is a guy that CZ and I feel is going to have a big 2025 in the world of wrestling, no pun intended. If you have not seen our next guest, he has a very unique look. That's something I can't wait to talk to him about. You don't see this look a lot anymore in wrestling today, and he's got that going for him. And what I hear, he's a tremendous guy and likes to talk wrestling, so we thought, why not? We got to get him in studio. I am talking about the Gentleman Barbarian, the one and the only, Bruss Hamilton. Bruss, how are you doing, sir? It's early, and thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, hey guys. No, I'm good. I'm good. I know I look kind of off in the face. I'm just living in the car the past 2 days, so it's just the rest is a little less than you'd like it to be, but that's wrestling.
I woke up 30 minutes
warrior
ago. That's why I
mentality,
look like this. So I get it, man. You don't have to worry. We're all in the same boat here. I love having first time guests on, Bruss, and we love talking wrestling here. So I always ask our first time guests this: why pro wrestling? What was it that got you where it's, got you in as a fan, and then, got you to where you are actually a wrestler now and chasing a dream?
Yeah. So, I've answered this a couple times, and it usually shocks people first time they hear it. I was never really a fan, ever growing up. I watched the Attitude Era. Like, I could name Stone Cold, The Rock, The Undertaker, Kane. Like, I could give you the big names.
Sure.
But I didn't know anything about. I didn't even know anything about WCW. I didn't know anything about ECW. I didn't even know there was such a thing as the Indies. I had no clue my whole life. I was originally a strongman competitor, and when I won the world championship in my weight class, in 2023, you didn't make any money doing that. And so here I was putting, over 16 years of my life into the gym and not really getting anything to show for it, to like be able to look my wife in the eye and go, this is why I spent all this time doing this, So I arrogantly thought, well, I'll just go do pro wrestling. Those guys make money. Right. And turns out to be one of the hardest things I've ever done. And actually, training at Black and Brave, it was during that training and kind of being in that environment that I went, oh, wow, this is awesome. I fell in love with it. And now I'm a fan and I watch as much as I can. But like you guys said, I'm in demand right now. And so I'm pretty busy doing my own wrestling and have a hard time catching up on all the modern storylines. But I've become a fan while being a pro wrestler. So the original decision was a financial one. Which, though, here on the indies, especially when you're starting out, you're not really making a living. Like, I still have a shoot job and everything. I made way more money wrestling than I ever did in strongman. That was only a loss. And so technically I was right. Technically I was right. Yeah.
Bruss, I wanna ask you. You talk about the strongman competition. We've heard stories of what it's like on that day zero for Black and Brave. Do you think the strongman competition gave you a little heads up than some of the other people who were training for that day zero?
Day zero was absolutely brutal. I had the muscular endurance. However, I unwisely was putting on weight before I got there. And so I actually went into Black and Brave, the heaviest I'd ever been. And so doing that much cardio and everything that they have you do and running for as much as they do, strongman did not help that. Like I said, the muscular endurance and everything was there. Like, I wasn't as beat up as everybody was the day after, but there's not much you can do to prepare for something like that. Like, is even training with strongman, like, you do your training, but contest day, you have to go 100% all out. Your body's never truly like ready, and you're always exhausted after, no matter how prepared you are after a contest, because if you're not giving it your all, you're not trying to win. Well, of course, it's day zero at Black and Brave, and you've got Seth freaking Rollins, Merrick, Brave, and Crotch there eyeing you down, and all the graduates, telling you what to do. And so you're going to go all out the whole time. And so there's just not much you can do to be prepared. And if there's any future Black and Brave students listening to this right now, or someday down the road, get in shape. Get in shape before you go.
No doubt.
I've always wanted to ask you this, and Bruss, and when you walk into Black and Brave, or when you walk into a room now, you have a definitive look. Like, you look like no one else in that room. You feel that helps you, or it hurts you?
It's definitely a help. It's definitely a help, because it has put me at an advantage over some of my peers, just because promoters see me and they go, oh, I want to try that guy out. So a lot of the times, because of the way I'm built, that automatically gets me a foot in the door, where, I still pay my dues. I've still, shown up. I'm still always on the road. I'm still doing all the things that every other green guy does. But it's helped me get a shot with these companies a lot sooner than, let's say, others have gotten, because of the way I look.
And I think it's great, because I remember the first time I seen you at an event. You were working the event, I believe, as security at the Bluegrass Community Center. And I turned to CZ. I'm like, who is this guy? Because you don't get that look a lot. Like, I would, not only are you big, you're impressive. Your body, the weightlifting thing, I think, puts you ahead, I think, with just how you look and how you set yourself apart. But the fact that you're not just a marching, plodding big guy, like, you've got character, you've got a persona. I think it even draws more eyes to you, because people don't see a big muscle-bound guy who's got tats that has a little bit of a personality. So I think you're really going to be able to get in on that and ride that wave, because people are going to just automatically turn their eyes to you.
Yeah, so far that holds true. And, of course, you're learning every day, every week, every month. You're just learning all the time in this business. There's so much to digest. And every time I think I've learned something, there's like 6 more things applied to it that I need to now start practicing and learning. So, the character development is going to keep growing, so I can keep pushing that personality and who the Gentleman Barbarian is. But yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. And that's kind of how it's worked out, is it's drawn a lot of attention my way.
I want to bring up something. Rob Kammerer and I, from the MLW Confusion podcast, we talk a lot. he brought up, and he's going to kill me for bringing this up on the air, but he brought up, have you ever thought about coming to the ring with a monocle and a top hat, being the gentleman barbarian that you are?
So there are ideas that I've played with that, and I actually started the character with a top hat and a robe, but was told to take the top hat off. It's too kind of now when they wanted to introduce the like ass kicker aspect first. And that's kind of how it's played out with every promotion, is that they want to use my size and they want to use the barbarian. And then so as I get established in these promotions, you're going to see more and more of the gentleman aspect come out. Okay. And how I've developed the character now to please the promoters and everything is I have a suit. I have enough suits that I can almost wear a different one at every promotion. And I don't have a matching top hats yet, but that's coming. Again, I'm on a wrestler's budget. So that's coming. The idea is there, but the gentleman is outside of the ring, right? The gentleman will be for the promo work. The gentleman will be for the vignettes and everything I do in the back. But when it's time to put a fight on, you're only getting the barbarian.
And that barbarian is a beast. Like Nick said, when we first saw you, my first thought is, holy shit, this guy is huge and he's going to be huge. And then you see you in the ring and it just doubles down on that thought of, oh my God, this guy is amazing.
I appreciate that. Yeah, that's what we're going for.
Yeah, I'm going to do some dream booking here, because when I hear Gentleman Barbarian and I see the look with the handlebar mustache, it reminds me of the NXT tag team, the Vaudevillians. Like, you could have been the muscle for the Vaudevillians, and then I would love to see like a modern day feud with like you, the Gentleman Barbarian, and Tyler Bate, the big strong boy, and how the similar.
Oh yeah.
Maybe do a Mustache Mountain 2.0. I don't know, but that's what I'd love to see. Just the look sets you apart, and we're learning more and more that there's more than the look, but man, it does a lot. And I was at Epic, I was at Rumble, Prestige Rumble a couple weeks ago, and snapped a pic because I thought one of the coolest moments in that Rumble is when you and Mason Beck had a stare down in the middle of the ring. I'm like, man, Are we teasing something here? Because two big guys who beat the crap out of each other, and the people would love to see it, because people love to see who Mason Beck is going to wrestle, because more than likely he's going to destroy him. He's got his work cut out with Bruss Hamilton. And I think there was that moment there where it's the current giant of of SCW Pro against the new blood who's going to try and maybe challenge him for that seat. I love that moment. I don't know if it was intentional. If it wasn't, that's cool. But I absolutely was one of my favorite moments of the whole night.
Well, I'm not a big fan of bullies, and that's what Beck is at SCW Pro. He comes in, and we see it. I know it. He's a giant, right? He's got me by height. He's got me by weight. The only thing that I think that I can declare is that he just doesn't have me by strength. And he comes in, he pushes everyone around. He's rude. He's mean. He's just a pure villain. And and not that it's my place, because being new, it's not really my place to take anybody out of line, but I'm not just going to stand by and watch somebody treat the rest of the locker room like that. And if I have the capability to stand toe to toe with a man like that, then I'm going to, for the sake of the others in the ring. So, I mean, was it intentional? Not really. But if SCW Pro wants to book that match, I'm here for it.
Me too.
Sign me up. Now, Bruss, being a fellow bearded gentleman, I want to talk to you about, I can't do the mustache. Mine doesn't grow out long enough that I can put it into a handlebar, but you're very well groomed. I love the beard. I'm growing mine out and have been since the summer, but mine just kind of wings out to the sides, and I absolutely hate it. But I love your look. It's just it's a great look, and it's impressive every time I see it.
Well, the beard, you've got a great beard yourself. I was going to say it's not often I get on the radio and I got two other, good looking beards on the interview here.
Hey,
And
beards of a feather flock together, right?
Right.
That's right. That's right. But the way I keep mine like this is that I do have to trim it because my beard hair actually grows longer, quicker than it does thick. So what'll happen is it'll grow really fast out, be frayed everywhere, and I'll trim it back. And that'll get it all where all the hairs are kind of the same dent, and that's what makes it give that good, dense, full look. But I have to do a lot of trimming to get this. And the mustache, I had every hair grown down to here.
Ooh.
I had to let it get really wild, and then I trimmed the center down, and I kept the outsides out. And now I just every once in a while snip the ends, keep it clean cut and everything like that. So it does take thought and effort to kind of figure out how you want to sculpt it and shape it. So don't feel discouraged about if you don't like the way yours looks. It just takes time and shaping and experimenting. It'll come along how you want it.
I never thought we would get beard and grooming tips on this show, but gosh darn it, here we are. And that's what I love about wrestling, because you never know where it's going to go. It'll take you anywhere. And here we're talking about beards. There's two really good beards in this ring. Mine's not nearly as long. I've had it long before, but this is kind of more my MO is this. But yeah, there are two very impressive beards in this ring. You're listening to the Card Subject Exchange podcast here, episode 167 with the Gentleman Barbarian. The podcast by the fan for the fan. We are powered by Lopez Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, colored by Ryan Elephant Tattoo, protected by Jared Zuka Country Financial. CZ, go ahead with your question there, bud.
Bruss, I want to talk about your first time getting in the ring as a competitor. We've talked about your training coming in at Black and Brave. What did that first match feel like for you? Walk us through that.
Believe it or not, I was covered in sweat before I even walked through the curtain. I had done a few Royals before my first singles match, and that was completely different because you're in the ring with a whole bunch of other people. Eyes aren't completely on you, and you can get away with some things. But my first singles match was against Shane Boucher at Iron Spirit Pro, and Shane has been a mentor for me, outside of the ring, as he's another Black and Brave graduate. He's been someone that's helped me along this whole journey so far. And so, number one, I was really excited to have a match with him because it's like, how often do you get your first match with that guy, you trust? And you've all seen him work. He's fantastic. Mm-hmm. So I got really lucky with that, but I was terrified, absolutely terrified, to the point that I'm standing at the curtain and I'm like covered in sweat. My music hasn't hit yet. They're just talking, but it's almost my time to walk out. And I was looking out the back door and I was like, I could leave. And this was fun. And it was fun while I got trained, and that was cool. But I mean, when I say that I was scared, I was deer in the headlights, frozen, and I can't even really remember most of the match because I was just kind of going through the motions of just trying to get through it because I was just so terrified the whole time.
Oh, geez. I can understand that. It's got to be nerve-wracking doing something like that for the first time. You mentioned Shane Boucher. We had him on the show a couple months back, and we got his perspective on this, but I want to hear your side of the story. When you two were at Wildwood and he was thrown off the balcony, you were right there to catch him. Talk about that moment for us.
I was there. I'm a big guy, so of course I'm going to be put in the center to do most of the catching. And then we had a lot of guys lined up, and just the way it landed and the timing of everything, he basically just fell right on my face, and I took that catch. Yeah, it just wasn't a lot of opportunity for anyone else to get his hands on him. Yeah. So I like to tease them like, hey, I saved your life that day. You need to,
yeah. We've seen the clip, and you definitely softened the landing, which aided in him probably being able to walk out of there safely for sure.
Yeah, that was a crazy show. He was crazy to do it, but what a fun time.
I remember my introduction to seeing you wrestle. I'd seen you at SCW shows. I was down at Lopez, and we had an AAW show on, and I believe you were in a battle royal, and I was like, I was sitting there with the Wizard, and I was sitting there with Tim Regal, and I said, this is the guy, this is the guy that's, been doing security for SCW. And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, okay. Put two and two together. So like, that was my introduction to seeing you in ring. I'd seen you at the shows, but that was I think my first match I'd ever seen you in ring. So
I never did a battle royal at AAW.
Well, okay. There was another Chicago. Was it another?
CSW.
There you go. Okay. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what it was. One of the two. One of those two were on. I thought it was AAW, but we had it on watching it, and that was my introduction to seeing your in-ring stuff.
Okay. Yeah, that's all last year, way back. Yeah. So.
Yep. Is that a blur now from starting, and now that you're getting all these bookings, or is it still everything? The
CSW moments, and AAW moments are pretty clear for me. And that's just because the city of Chicago is such a blessing to pro wrestling. And that entire city has taken me in, and they love my character. It's almost like I can in front of them, like, because they just want to see wrestling. And so a lot of what happens at CSW and AAW it's still pretty clear in my mind, just because it's just such a good time. And that first match, I was terrified. Boucher helped me through it. We got through it. And then that was basically the last time I ever had that feeling. And so now, most of it still comes through clear. There's a little bit blur here and there, just because, I've been on average wrestling 3 times a week, anywhere from 2 to 4. And so that's a lot of matches. Sometimes it's hard to remember, especially when it's just a one-off, where I'm just trying to fill a date and give somebody something that they haven't seen before.
Sure.
Talking about Chicago, I have a love-hate relationship with Chicago itself. I love the city. I love walking around, and the wrestling up there is just amazing. I hate going up there in the traffic. I will not, if I can avoid driving in anywhere close to downtown Chicago, I will do it in a heartbeat. I will go to Naperville or somewhere and take the train in. But I saw you at an AAW show, I want to say in October, or it was October. It had to be October. And you are in a team. I know you're in a faction, and the name of the faction is escaping me at the moment. But
it's the faction. I'm in the faction, the Bravo family. They're not a faction, the faction.
The faction. Yes.
I want to talk about your partnership with Sean Logan. Tell me how that started and what that's like for you.
Well, I know that he was in the Bravo family before me, and Johnny Bravo was not satisfied with the performance of the team. So he called me in to join and said that it was really Hartenbauer holding everything down. So I took Hartenbauer out, and I basically took his spot. Sean moved up a little spot there, like in rankings within the faction. And so he and I are just grinding together, trying to be the best tag team when we wrestle together at AAW that they have. And I'll tell you, if you watch the 2 shows ago, we had a tag team championship match against Rust and Shaft. I had both of them dead to rights on the ground. I was making my victory lap before we were going to go ahead and get the win. And then Hartenbauer came in and took me out with a bat. So I know that Sean and I are championship material for that company. It's just a matter of time. And if we can get anyone to follow the dang rules.
Hell yeah. I can't wait to see that happen. Hartenbauer, talking about taking out Hartenbauer, that's a big name to tangle with right there in the Midwest, in the Illinois area. That's impressive, because he is a big bad dude in his own right.
I guess. I don't know. I've seen him. I'm not that impressed.
Sign me up. I think there'd be a lot of violence ensued with that match, and I know I wouldn't be the only one that would love to see that match. I think I think the fans would clamor for it, and I think it's got some steam to it. Just needs to get going. I'm all for it.
I saw him.
Yeah, if he ever wants to put that baseball bat down.
I'm all for it.
Hey, Bruss, I'm not going to blame him. I would probably bring a baseball bat too if I was coming at you.
Yeah, I suppose you're right.
I don't want that kind of heat. I just wouldn't.
No, and I would never do that. I don't want to get to that point.
Oh man. Let's take a quick time out. I think this is a good time. We're going to hit a commercial. We're going to come back with our moment of focus with JT Energy, and then we'll finish everything up with this wonderful, busy gentleman, Bruss Hamilton. But stay with Card Subject to Change. We'll be back right after this.
For frequency's sake, has you covered on all things sports. From the squared circle to the hardwood and the gridiron to the speedway, we've got something for everyone. Walk down the aisle with the boys from Card Subject to Change every Sunday as they take a deep dive into everything pro wrestling. Head on over to the hardwood with Doug Green and Watching the W each week for all the news from the WNBA. Want more insight from Pit Row? Check out the Green, White, and Checkered podcast where they give their insight on everything happening on and off the track. Need your gambling fix? We've got you there. Dan Hancock and Gotham Gambling will help you cover the spread with the Golden Ticket Show. Football more your style? Explore the waters of NFL DFS with DFS Deep Dive with Brian Craighead and Jordan Kernan each week. More into the science portion of the game? The Professor John Bush and Dennis Michelson take you into their science lab and dissect your week in the data lab. Need to know who to start last minute? The network's flagship show, For Fantasy's Sake, is here in a pinch. The fellows come to you live every football Sunday from 10 to 11:30 Central with the week's best DFS, gambling, and lineup advice. And wrap up your Sundays with Joe Winkle and Nick Brinks as they come to you live with educated ignorance looking at all the day's action. Not enough football on Sunday? Not a problem. Kick your feet up at lunch on Monday and slip into the football lounge with Mark and Dan while they look at the week that was in news, notes, and more. For frequency's sake, you know what we mean.
Welcome back to the show.
Welcome back to the show. We are Card Subject to Change podcast. We are here talking with the Gentleman Barbarian, Bruss Hamilton. But first things first, CZ, we've got a segment to get to.
We do. We're gonna toss things over to our good friend Mr. JT Energy and learn what we're gonna focus about today in our moment of focus.
Welcome to a moment of focus with the feline phenom, JT Energy. The boys at the Card Subject to Change podcast, double Sunday. 2. Are you going to see me once? Maybe. Are you going to see me twice? Maybe. Regardless, one moment of focus today. And that, my friends, is focus on what you have now, because you will not understand the differences in your life that will happen when something is gone. Whether it be something so small like TikTok, which provides all kinds of feelings to so many people across the world. When you take those away, man, kind of hurts. Or when an independent wrestling promotion runs your town, and the day that they stop running, man, those memories, they're hard to let go. So appreciate what you have now, because we really don't know what we have until it's gone. This, my friends, has been a moment of focus with the feline phenom, JT Energy.
We want to thank JT for joining us weekly with his Moment of Focus segment, a 2024 Cardi Award winner for Segment of the Year. We are back here with Bruss Hamilton. It's episode 167 of the Card Subject to Change podcast. I'm never wrong, Nick Bull, joined by the Wizard CZ. And Bruss, got 2 questions here for you. You're taking time out of your schedule. You've got a show that you've made. You're in the parking lot. Talk about where you're at today, what show you're at, and what's the next step for Bruss Hamilton in 2025.
So I'm here in Dwight, Illinois for Defiant Pro Wrestling. A nice show, good crowd, good locker room as always. Again, Illinois wrestling is fantastic everywhere I've been. So we're going to be kicking off at a noon bell time where I'm in a tag team, which I kind of just look at it as a smash match, because I don't know what the two that we're going against think they're going to do to me once I'm in. So just going to kind of see how that goes. But that's kind of my expectation for it. We'll see what happens. But that's where I'm going to set the bar. But as for 2025, 2024 was the year of the debut. I went into basically all of the Midwest that I could within the time that I had. And now I'm expanding a little bit further. I've got some, you had brought up the Vaudevillains earlier. I'm actually going into Minnesota, and I'm not wrestling them, but I'm on the same card as them at
That's cool.
Minnesota, Minnesota company, SXW, Social Experiment Wrestling. And so I've gotten with MAW out there, Ironheart out there, and now SXW out there. So Minnesota is another state for me. Got GLCW in Wisconsin. I'm just I've made my debuts. I've expanded basically throughout all of the Midwest. Excuse me. And I'd like to get established. Basically, the year 2025 is going to be establishing that fear factor. I want, when my name comes up on the card, I want the crowd, and I want my opponent to go like, oh, crap. Just like, oh, here we go. I'm going to have to do something here. And that's what I'm looking forward to in 2025 is really cementing my brand of wrestling.
Let's build on that a little bit here. One of my favorite things that you do is you have this press, this for all intents and purposes, gorilla press, but you do it one-handed. Is there anyone you want to hold above your head with that hand and drop them to the mat? Is there any particular opponent you're looking forward to facing?
Well, so this is when the strength competitor. Oh, did we back? We good? All right. Yeah. So this is when
You're good.
That's all right. This is when the strength competitor comes out in me. It's not really who, it's how much they weigh. Okay. Because I know that, everyone talks about like the gimmick and the work of wrestling and everything. But, when I'm grabbing somebody by the waistband with one hand and I'm throwing them over my head, there's a reason why you haven't seen that before. And that's because not a lot of people can do it. And so in strongman, one of my key events was basically anything overhead press. I was either a lock for a win or I was top two. Everyone knew it. I knew, it's just how it worked with that. And strongman, I was blessed with very strong shoulders. And so now I think the heaviest person I've done with one hand is 205. I'd like to get a 225. If I can nail the 225, let's go up to 245. And I just want to keep getting the bigger and bigger person until I can't do it,
Hell yeah. You talk about expanding your brand, expanding Bruss Hamilton's presence in pro wrestling. Is there any place you want to wrestle that you haven't before? Any place you're looking forward to going to?
It would be really great to get on with freelance in Chicago, because then I think I will have wrestled for almost every company in Chicago, and that would be great. There's Limitless out east, Reality of Wrestling in Texas, the Rocky Mountain Pro in Colorado. I haven't really looked too far out west, but all of those are great. And again, I've been really lucky. Like, I've already gotten on with Wrestle Revolver. I've gotten on with Rhino at IWR. And these other major shows have really embraced me, and kind of, like I just said, like everything in wrestling for me has been, everyone has just kind of taken me, accepted me. And it's been really, really fun, really, really good, and very, very fast. So if I can just cement myself where I'm at, and then, like I said, those companies I just listed off, JCW in Michigan, I've heard that's a really wild and fun time there. But yeah, just those promotions kind of are the first ones to pop the head. But again, I'll never really turn down a booking.
No doubt.
Of course, I want to talk about, our local promotion here. And how we were introduced to you, SCW Pro. What's Bruss Hamilton next move in 2025 when it comes to SCW Pro?
I'd really, really like to have that match with Mason Beck. That would be just about all I want from SCW Pro if I can get that match.
Hey,
Mason Beck.
if we get that in 2025, things are going right.
Yeah, I agree. So if I could get that match with Mason Beck, that would be fantastic. But honestly, you know, they mostly run on Saturdays, and I was just looking at a calendar with another promotion this morning before we got on here, and I think Saturdays from here to December are just about gone. I don't really have any more open. Fridays that's the new one I'm trying to fill, is the Fridays and the Sundays. And if there's any Thursday promotions out there, I'll take those too. You know, so it's SCW Pro is they, of course, you know, that's the home school, that's Coach, that, you know, his promotion, and so I will always have a spot there to go back to. But right now everything's advanced for me so quickly that I've kind of branched out a little bit. But again, I'm never not going to come back. I'll always try to find, and that's why I got to go to the Prestige Rumble. You know, I called up Coach and was like, hey, if you need a guy, like, I have that date, I'd love to be. And he's usually the one I go to if I have an opening and I see that they have an opening. Is there something we can do? Can you have anything to make it work? And they've always seemed excited to bring me back in. So I think that I'll have a long, good relationship with SCW Pro. It just may not be consistent.
Well, Bruss, it sounds like it's a great problem to have, that you're wanted and you've got all these bookings and you're branching out. So we might not see you as much as we want to, but that's good for you because you're getting your name and face out there and more people exposed to your brand. And that's what it's all about. You know, that's what this business is about.
Yeah, I tell everybody, you know, because I make so many connections with the fans and with the promotions and stuff. Because again, this is me trying to build a career. This is me trying to make this a full-time job. And so I just ask everybody to just remember that that's why I got into it. I have the passion. I do love pro wrestling. I love you all, the fans and everything. But I do have to make my decisions based on business. I am married. I have 6 children. I have to make this work, you know?
Yeah.
Whoa, 6 kids. I've got 3 and I thought I was crazy. You've got 6 and you're making shows. How in the heck does that happen? Got to have a good support team, right?
That's 100% my wife. My wife is the dream woman of all women. You know, just an absolute smoking fox babe with high intelligence. She's a nurse practitioner, so borderline doctor, am I right? And then one hell of a mother as well. And then a support partner, because I asked her, let me chase this crazy dream. And she said, yeah, go for it. I don't want to be the one that holds you back. And so she's done everything. I mean, everything. I moved to Iowa for 3 months and she held the house down while I trained with Black and Brave. So, like, that speaks to her character.
Bruss, you know what they call 6 kids and a wife at home, right?
What's that?
That's a stable. You've got a full-fledged stable at home.
Got my tribe. Yeah. My clan. The Barbarian clan. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Bruss, I want to ask you, you're talking about, you know, hitting the road, making a career of wrestling, and I personally think you're going to make it there. If you were to hypothetically be handed a contract today, what company would you want to work for more?
I am really looking and that's been an internal question because I've been asked this before, right? Because they're like to me, again, not growing up like a super mark or anything, just now at the age of 35, really learning about pro wrestling and taking it in and seeing it. There's not a major promotion I hate. You know what I mean? I don't lean one side of the fence or the other. I like them all. But if I had a preference, like if I got a contract right now with where I'm at, my ability and skill level and how much I still need to learn and do, I would be over the moon if I could get something with TNA, if they were willing to bring me in and say, hey, you grow where you're planted and we'll bring you along with us.
Oh man, you just gave me a vision of you and Josh Alexander, you and Moose. There's a number of matches that I would love to see in TNA.
I've met both those guys, and yeah, I would. That would be a lot of fun, especially Moose, because he is just a tower of a human being.
Man, I would be all about that. I've been getting more and more into TNA lately, so I hope to see you there someday soon. What is your 5-year plan? What do you see happening over the next 5 years? Where do you hope to be in 2030?
TNA, yeah.
Well, okay,
2030, yeah.
obviously.
Hope to be in TNA. I'd like to make it happen, because at the and I have spent money to get consultations and go to seminars for like Gabe Sapolsky and all these wrestlers, and I get the same message from all of them, and mainly from Gabe Sapolsky, because he's been a big help for me, because I've done WWE extra work, and he's the reason why I get those spots. And I did a one-on-one consultation with him, and he said it to me the best way is like, because I was like, hey, I'm a world champion athlete. Is WWE interested in somebody like that? And he said, yeah, maybe if you were 20, And so I'm 35. So, and everyone talks about LA Knight and Damian Priest, like, oh, they got signed in their late 30s. They'd also been wrestling for 16 years. They'd also been wrestling their whole lives, and then they got signed. I'm 35. And I don't have 1 year experience yet. So I have this big of a window. I can't show you how broad of how much I need to learn. Like, that's how much I have to learn in this big of a window. So in 2030, and that's why I say that to say this, that I don't want to be perceived as arrogant or cocky, because I'm not. I try to remain humble with everything I've ever accomplished in life. But that's why I say, like, to be signed by 2030 is the goal, because in 2030 I'm 40 years old, and that window will be almost gone for me. So I have to make sure that that is the main goal, and why my wife is the one at home with the kids, and why my kids support me and everyone supports me, and why here's my bed. That's my bedroom right there on the road. So that's why I'm doing this. That's why I'm broke all the time, and I'm constantly on the road and living in my car, is because I 100% believe that if I put in the level of work that I'm putting in, then by 2030 I will have that contract and it will be mission success.
Yes. I love that attitude, and I think you're well on your way there.
Thank you.
I want to ask one more quick question. We'll let you go because we know you're busy. You got a show.
Everyone's starting to pull up. I was going to have to say. Yeah.
Last question here, and I know you really can't say a lot, but tell me what it was like the first time you did extra work for WWE, and that whole experience, that feeling of getting to see what it was like behind the scenes, walking past people that you see on TV weekly. What was it like being around all that?
The biggest standout thing is that it humanized it for me. I got to see the inner workings of the machine, and I got to see the best of the best, the top guys, the one everyone aspires to be, these workers. And I got, you sit there by the ring waiting to be told what to do. You're seen, not heard. That's your job as an extra. You're a background actor. Stay out of the way. So you just sit there and you wait for an agent or producer to come up and say, hey, I want you to go do this. And then that's your job now, and you're done. So, but you get to sit there and you get to watch these wrestlers call their matches, and you're listening to them call their matches. And there's a lot of talking going on at once, so it's hard to break it all out, but you watch it and you realize they are doing exactly what we are doing. They're calling it the way we call it. They're planning it the way we plan it. There's obvious differences with commercial breaks, and they have to time things with cameras, and TV is a whole nother beast. But the bottom line is that the foundation of what they do is exactly what we're doing on independent wrestling. And then to also see Triple H walk around to every single person that has a match. He doesn't carry a binder. He doesn't have his phone out. He doesn't have anything. And he's calling their spots and telling them what they're doing in it. I have a hard enough time, remembering my own stuff in one match. And by the looks of it, it looks like he has the entire card and everything they're supposed to do memorized. And the humility he has when he approaches everybody, and just see, because, you hear the horror stories of the indies and like the guys that have been doing it for 30 years, and they have huge egos and they're hard to deal with. And then you go to WWE and you see it's just one team, one fight, trying to make one fantastic product is what it looked like to me. But again, that's being an extra still on the outside looking in, right? I have no idea what goes on behind even those scenes. but just observing it from those seats as an extra is just a wonderful environment to be around.
Well, I'm going to wrap it up here. I don't think it's much longer. You're on the outside looking in. I think it's, if you haven't already, you're going to knock that damn door down. And by the end of 2025, a lot more people are going to know who Bruss Hamilton is.
I hope so. Appreciate that.
And Bruss, we really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. I feel like we could talk about so much more, but I know you've got a booking to get to, so we'll let you go. But please, if you have more time in the future, come back on. We want to talk to you a bit more, okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Message me and we'll work that out. I'll never. I love doing these. I love doing the interviews and the podcast, especially like I know you guys are established, but I've done a lot of ones for. If there's any smaller podcasters listening, message me. I'll go on your podcast too. We're all in the same business, just trying to make it. And if I can help you, then that would be great.
Absolutely. Well, Bruss, thank you again so much. And for everyone who's tuned in, thank you. This has been the Card Subject to Change podcast, the podcast by the fan, for the fan, powered by Lopez Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo, and of course protected by Jared Zook, Country Financial. We're not done for the day. We've got another booking to get to ourselves. That's coming up at 2 o'clock this afternoon. So we will see you then. But until then, have a good rest of your day. And thanks for tuning in again to Card Subject to Change.
This has been a For Frequency's Sake Podcast Network production. For more great content, subscribe to For Frequency's Sake on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter.